factoring ax squared plus bx plus c. A trinomial in this form has a coefficient of something other than 1 in front of the x squared. So the first thing you always want to check for is to see if you can factor out a GCF from all three of the terms. If you can, that will make factoring much easier. So if you can factor out the GCF from all three terms, do that and then continue on with the steps. If there is no GCF between all three of the terms, then here's where you will start. You'll multiply a and c together. Then you're going to find the factors of a times c that add or subtract to make b. Then you're going to split the bx term into the factors. And you're going to factor by grouping and using GCF. So 3x squared plus 4x minus 15. Checking, there is no GCF that can come out of all three of the terms. So we're going to multiply a and c together, and that's going to be negative 45. So now I got to think of the factors of negative 45 that add or subtract to make 4. Factors of negative 45 are 9 and 5. 1 has to be negative because 45 is negative. And by looking at that b term, that it's positive, I know that the 5 has to be negative. So now I'm going to split this bx term. I have 3x squared. Now I'm going to split the 4x into 9x and a negative 5x. And then bring down the negative 15. So I'm going to factor by grouping. So I'm going to group the first two terms together and the last two terms together, and then find the GCF of those. So 3x squared plus 9x, I can pull out a 3x. 3x times x gives you 3x squared, and 3x plus 3 gives you 9x. From the second two factors, I'm going to pull out a negative 5, and negative 5 times x would give you a negative 5x, and negative 5 times a positive 3 is negative 15. Notice that inside both parentheses we have the same binomial. That must happen. If it doesn't, then you did something wrong. So now we're going to pull out what these have in common, x plus 3, and then the leftovers, 3x minus 5. Two x squared minus 13 minus 7. Again, there is no GCF that can come out of all three of the terms. So I'm going to multiply a and c together. That's negative 14. And I got to think of the factors that would make a negative 13. So 14 and 1. 1 has to be negative, and by looking at the b term, it's going to be a negative 14 and a positive 1. So I'm going to split the bx term. So 2x squared minus 14x plus x minus 7. Factor by grouping. Group the first two and the last two terms together. Pull out the GCF. So here we're going to get 2x can come out, and 2x times x is 2x squared, and 2x times negative 7 is a negative 14x. Now from here, the GCF, even though it might look like there isn't a GCF, is technically 1. So you got to make sure that you write a plus 1 and then x minus 7 inside the parentheses. We have the same thing in both parentheses, which is what we needed. So bring that out, x minus 7, and then the leftovers, 2x plus 1. 18x squared minus 33x plus 12. Check to see if there's a GCF between all three of these terms. And in this case, there is. I'm going to pull out the 3. Doing that is going to make our numbers much smaller. It's going to be a lot easier to factor after pulling out the 3 than it is to multiply 18 and 12 and get 216 and think about the factors of 216. That would give us a negative 33. So when I pull out 3, that's going to be 6x squared minus 11x plus 4. Now we do not want to lose this 3 that we've pulled out, and actually I do want to change these parentheses to brackets. So now follow the steps. Multiply a and c together, 24, and think of the factors of 24 that will give a negative 11. So 3 and 8. And since the 24 is positive, these are both going to be negative, since we have a negative 11. So bring down the 3 in the bracket. 6x squared, break down the negative 11x into negative 3x and negative 8x plus 4. Factor by grouping. Again, do not lose the 3 out in front. So from the first two terms, we can pull out a 3x, and that's going to leave 2x minus 1 inside the parentheses. For the second two terms, I'm going to pull out a negative 4. Now, I know it's a negative because when I multiply here, I want my inside number to be positive. I want my 2x to be positive. So negative 4 times a positive 2x gives a negative 8x. And a negative 4 times a negative 1 is a positive 4x. All right, so pull out what they have in common, 2x minus 1. The leftovers, 3x minus 4. And once again, don't lose the 3 that you pulled out, so you just bring it out in front.